Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the IDA Governance Committee. It is Tuesday, December 19th at 5 p.m. We're going to call the meeting in order. First, we're going to do Pledge Allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Call the meeting in order. Roll call.
Okay, Dean Tamburi,
President.
Giovanni Palladino,
Present.
Vincent Oda,
Present.
Dr. Oda, present. All three committee members are present. Staff member, myself, Bill Fioravanti, CEO. We have Marty Boras, our admin assistant, here as well. Joining us remotely is Billy Iverson with Acquisitions Marketing, doing our live stream. And everyone here tonight.
Thank you, Bill. Proof of notice. The notice was duly and properly provided. The minutes, approval of the minutes of the February 7th, 2023 OCIDA Finance Committee.
Governance, right? Is it finance? It says finance there, Marty. It is governance. Apologies for the typo.
Of course.
I didn't catch that at all.
Which is attached and was sent to everyone ahead of time for review.
Yep.
I reviewed it. If anybody has any questions, look for a motion to move those minutes forward.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Giovanni. Second, Dr. Oda. All in favor? Aye. Motion passed. New business. The 2024 proposed slate of officers. Bill, our CEO, discussed with several of the members of the board, and we're going to go ahead with, and the slate will be, the recommendation, it would be, the chair would be Jeff Christ, vice chair Dean Tamburi, secretary Vincent Oda. And I would look for a motion from this board to, this committee to move to the full board. Dr. Oda?
I'll second.
Second. Thank you, Giovanni. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussions? Passed. Proposal of the committee assignments. Again, our CEO discussed obviously time constraints with all the members, et cetera, and where they are for meetings, and some of their have shown some of their expertise in certain areas, and we're looking to utilize them moving forward as much as we possibly can as board members. And the proposed committee assignments moving forward, the governance would be the chair would be Jeff Christ, committee members Dean Tamburi, Dr. Oda, and Giovanni Palladino. The finance would be the chair would be Mark Green, Dean Tamburi, James Ronley, and Jeff Christ. The audit committee would be Susan Walski would be the chair. Mark Green would be a committee member, James Ronley, committee member, and Dean Tamburi, committee member. And the accelerator, the chair would be Dean Tamburi for the accelerator, Susan Walski, committee member, and Giovanni Palladino, committee member. Looking for a motion or if anybody has any questions.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Giovanni. Second, Dr. Oda. All in favor? Aye. We'll move that ahead to those slates to the full board, which will be in January, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
January, the full board will discuss those. If anybody has any other questions, we'll move forward. And now we'll move on to the
Highland Falls is a housing project, that was, had completed an application, been working with them for several months. And, frankly, an elected official helped broker a meeting between them and the local, government, the village government in Highland Falls. And it looks like they're gonna be getting incentives directly from the municipality, at least in terms of a pilot. So I won't get into who brokered that meeting, but that's someone trying to derail projects from us, that resulted there. And then the third is a warehouse distribution project in Wawayanda. And I just, probably due to political pressure was a factor, but for a number of reasons, they just elected to not pursue IDA incentives. They're trying to see if they can make it work, most likely pursuing a 45B, just a property tax abatement as of right. I did get the impression it was due to some political factors, but they didn't say that explicitly. So I think as happens, some are from business decisions, and sometimes it's some other factors that are somewhat unique to us given our environment politically. So just looking at this matrix, you see the first column, the totals at the bottom. You're talking. This is a total capital expenditure, the whole cost of the projects. You're talking over $1 billion in projects, $1.2 billion that's been before us. For what has closed, you're looking at a total of $313,800,000. You're also seeing the number of jobs that are impacted by these projects and created. Permanent, we're looking at a total for all these projects of over 1,000 jobs, permanent jobs. In construction jobs, almost 4,000 jobs. Now, for what is closed, we've helped create 279 permanent jobs and 856 construction jobs. So that's just from what we did close this year, in last year. So that's really that. You also see the value of the savings for the applicants in terms of sales tax exemption, mortgage recording tax, and such. So you're able to see all those figures there. But basically, you're looking at project status, which is the third from the last column. You're seeing which are closed. You're seeing some example of projects that were applications withdrawn. Walgreens is another unique one where we approved the incentives and they were not able to come to terms with the state for some of their licensing related to pharmaceutical distribution. And they're actually, as we understand it, they're gone to New Jersey as a result. So it's a project I think we're all excited about, one of those really frustrating ones to lose. Mac Brothers, we approved their incentives, but we're waiting for them to on some other approvals. They're waiting on other approvals before they'll close with us. Amazon, we did withdrew. This next application withdrew. OC Hospitality, we closed that as well. Royal Wine, I was actually just there on site today. That project is really, Gene of course knows it well, just really going well. The seal is all up. We did some drone footage there actually with acquisitions marketing. So that was really interesting. So that's moving along. We haven't closed phase 2, which was on the, you'll recall, the sales tax exemption on just the build out of the interior of that structure. But we expect to close, if not by the end of this year, then early January. So you'll see Royal Wine phase 2 close as well. And then the next two are Wallkill Living Center and Sapa Hospitality. Those actually come before the board for a final resolution tomorrow evening. So we'll know there. And Lynch's, the Castle Fun Center, of course, you just authorized a public hearing at our last meeting, and we had that public hearing last week, went very well. So we expect them to be before us probably in January for final approval, if not February. So that's really the quick synopsis of where those projects stand. That's our update for that. Any questions on any of these projects, and we will discuss this as a full board as well.
Yeah, when the full board, obviously, just we can see that there are companies that move to other areas. Obviously, it's just not talk. Wherever they do move, and they are looking for incentives, and they are looking for places that they can go for incentives, etc. And obviously, they're not afraid to go to other areas. So, and I just think that we just have to, even though we have some of these and people don't know all the work that goes behind it to try to get one of these to close, and then they don't close, but we just have to keep up on it and do the best we can to get as many applicants as we can to close and to bring business to the area.
Now, it thought from the bottom, Does it mean the only 4 workers in the building? Or only 4 workers?
I'm sorry, where are we, sir?
No, I'm talking about.
So the Walker Living Center, that's really just gonna be
Only 4 workers?
creating four new jobs. It's because that is a senior center, frankly. So there are just a few positions that are gonna be full-time that they're adding as a result of this project. So that's not really, like most housing that will come before us, it's not about the job creation as much. Certainly someone on the construction side, no question, with that being, estimated at 62 jobs, if not more. But that's, with the housing projects, that's the permanent jobs is typically gonna be lower. But to your point, Dean, we've approved this board since we've been in place here again, since we succeeded the past administration. We've approved 12 projects, incentives for 12 projects. Only 7 have closed and 6 are under construction. So half of the projects that we approved are actually moving forward. There are, to your point, there are just a huge, array of variables that the incentives are just a part of it. People think we give this, that it means it's happening anyway, of course, or it's a slam dunk once we do. No, we're just a component of this. That these projects say we need these incentives in order to move forward, and they need a variety of other things to swing their way, frankly, or the projects don't happen. So I'm glad you raised that, because there's a real vulnerability that people don't understand about these projects. Just because we approve them doesn't mean it's a done deal. For sure. Any other questions on the annual update?
I don't have anything.
Okay, so we'll carry on. And certainly, please, as always, you reach out to me afterward as well. We can talk after this meeting if you have some other questions as well. I don't mean to rush it, but we are moving well, nicely. The last section for tonight, agenda item, is just, again, a year-end policy review. Of course, we're doing this as IDA in this current session. Just to go down what I shared with you as the committee and with the full board this week. Our uniform tax exemption policy, more commonly known as the UTEP, which was revised in June of 2019, but we've been speaking, at length and many times about revising that. So that is one of the ones I'd like us to work on revising in 2024. We also have our project approval policy that was actually passed by this board in June of this year, or I'm sorry, January of this year. So that's been dealt with recently. The recapture policy, you may recall, it was part of our UTEP, actually. It was built into that, the recapture policy. We pulled that out and made it a standalone policy this year. That was done in July of this year. We also included our procurement policy, which goes back to 2020, and our disposition of property policy, also 2020, that one being May of 2020. And then the last policy we shared for your review is the local labor policy, which we did revise in January also of this year, when we added Delaware County to the 7, now 8 counties that this qualifies for. So those are the policies you sent, and I know everyone looked at them. And again, the rest of the board is doing the same thing. But just in terms of revisions, and we've all just talked about this, but just to put it on the record, the UTEP we're looking to revise in 2024. And in addition to that, there is, I'm going to ask the board to consider, in governance, when we reconvene in February, to consider a small revision, a minor revision, I'll call it, to the local labor policy, really dealing with the fact that we require 85% local labor on every single subcontract. There's some language we find we can tweak in that, actually following the lead of the town of Montgomery IDA that did that made it just a little more smooth for compliance with that. Not something I intend to talk about tonight, but I wanted to raise the fact that I am notifying the board that is a policy that I also would like to take a look at in 2024. Can I ask any comments, any concerns either on what I just said or anything else you may have seen in the policies at all that we need to discuss tonight?
I know it's this is our practice to review these, but we can change if something of the policy can be changed throughout as we see. And
if we don't decide tonight, doesn't mean we can't look to change the procurement policy in June or something. Absolutely right.
But and again, as we're moving along, we're seeing things that, whether from other IDAs or you're attending conferences or some things that have worked. But these all have been, the attorneys have reviewed them all and everything's in compliance. Just that, we're always looking to make sure that it fits our Orange County for.
Exactly. The timing tonight is more of the fact that, again, it's good form for us to review these every year. So we're doing it at year end and trying to identify any, from this standpoint, when we would, any we would revise. But you're right. As it comes up during the year, we can address any of it. We'll review them again and revise them again.
Yeah, I also noticed that with the monitor coming in, there may be a few changes in what we have. I mean, the impact of the monitor.
Yes.
Yeah,
Let's touch on that.
Yeah, well, within the area, but there are areas where.
Sure. So as I'll report to the full board tomorrow, we have an update on the monitor, the New York State monitor being appointed by the Inspector General of New York. There is a request for proposals that is out there. Proposals were due back early December. They're looking to appoint someone and hopefully have them in place by March of 2024 for what will be just over a 2-year appointment from that point on. One of the, within the scope of the responsibilities of this monitor is to review changes or propose changes to our UTEP. And it's one of their powers, their narrow powers, that they could revoke those changes. Mm-hmm. So Sue Kassoff, General Counsel, has really been advising us to wait on that revision, on the review and revision of that. I've been a little anxious about it because we didn't know when we were going to get the monitor. And there's some things at the UTEP we want to look at very soon, frankly, because we want to recalibrate who we're going after and how and what we're awarding them with. So that's the reason being. So UTEP is affected by the monitor. So I think we will probably wait until that appointment in March or maybe April till we begin that, so that we're not doing something that could be undone, even though I find that unlikely. So that's that. And anything else affected by the monitor? The only thing is that the monitor also, I found in the scope, in the request for proposals put out by the IG's office, that they can make suggestions on cost-saving measures and really anything else that they think would be good governance. So it's well within the realm of possibility that they come back with some other suggested revisions to a policy or policies, but nothing I could foresee at this point.
And the process of that, so if there were any changes made, that would have to be, we discussed that before, that would have to go out.
They have to notify us in writing. There's a whole, I'm going to share the request for proposals that outlines the position as the IG put it together. But yeah, there's a whole process by which they would do that.
And they're keeping you up with that process.
They are, except now that we've entered a blackout period. Once they've received proposals, they really don't want to talk to anyone about it, so that there's no infiltration of the process. Which is why no elected official or anyone else would know how many applications they've received. That's confidential, and no one's privy to that. So even though there's an elected official saying that they know how many applications they've received, that's complete hogwash. It's made up.
So that doesn't have to be open to the public, I guess.
That part is not. After the process is closed and they select someone, then it's all foilable and all of that. But right now they're trying to maintain the integrity of the process. They're very clear with me on it.
And then the UTEP making those changes, if and when that happens, that's a little bit different than the other policies, correct? That's a policy that has to be notified.
Absolutely. We have to notify all affected every taxing jurisdiction within the county, and we have to hold a public hearing for that. So that's why there's some more minor changes and more significant changes. I was hoping to do just maybe knock off some of the minor changes, and council really advised, because the process is somewhat onerous in that respect. Let's wait and do it.
Trying to look at going through the recapture policy.
Yes.
Can we just glance through that?
Sure. This is the one we just did in January, where, as I mentioned before, it was part of our UTEP. It was built into it, and we pulled it out so that we could have our own standalone recapture policy, because that is really proper form again. Recapture is in page 20 of this packet. I mean, this is short enough. I can read the whole thing.
Right.
The agency at its sole discretion and on a case-by-case basis may determine, but shall not be required to do so unless otherwise required by applicable law, with respect to a particular project, a project has failed to meet its intended goals and to require the applicant to comply with a recapture by the agency of the value of any or all exemptions from taxation granted with respect to the project by virtue of the agency's involvement. Events that the agency may determine will trigger recapture may include but are not limited to sale or closure of the facility, significant employment reduction or failure to achieve employment projections, significant change in the use of the facility, significant change in business activities or project applicant or operator, material non-compliance with or breach of the terms of the agency transaction documents or of zoning or land use laws or regulations or federal, state, or local environmental laws or regulations, or failure to comply with the agency and New York State reporting requirements. If the agency determines to provide for the recapture with respect to a particular project, the agency shall also determine the timing and percentage of the recapture. So it just gives one a series among many reasons that we could recapture.
Now, if the company suddenly declare bankruptcy, would that letting us know what happened?
That is not explicitly stated in here. If they leave to close, it's referred to, but that could, given other factors, included with that could give rise to a reason for it.
But we can't retrieve anything.
Correct. If they don't comply with what they set forth in their application and through the approval process.
Is that what you're saying, Dr. Ogden doesn't say that about bankruptcy? Is that what you?
Yeah, no, I was wondering because not say explicitly that bankruptcy, we can't do anything. I mean,
You can't recapture.
yes,
Basically, you declare bankruptcy, there's nothing to recapture.
nothing we can do.
Well, you can recapture the future savings of, say, property taxes, through a pilot or something, so.
Or after maybe the resale of the properties or something.
Exactly. That's where we have the opportunity if we, so choose. Whereas, though this board has, we call it assigning benefits from one owner to a purchaser. We've done that. If we feel that the purchaser, typically the way we've looked at it is that we think the purchaser is going to continue those promises and hold to the pledges of job creation, et cetera, then the board seemed to be open to that.
What's not on here is anything that has to do with them failing to pay their mortgage or loss of financing.
I'm going to look at that.
I mean,
Speak
it's a
to council
question. I
about
mean,
it.
we're at that time, we're in a place now that everybody's really concerned about that.
Sure.
For instance, if they get a construction loan, they go through the process and they can't get permanent financing.
Yeah.
They can't move forward.
I'll discuss that with council and see if it does read that it's open-ended enough where we could do it for a variety of reasons, but I'd like to address those. Appreciate you raising those.
And the only other thing, I mean, this is where this would apply as well. We had the incident, and it wasn't because you made a couple of phone calls, which we appreciate. There was a couple of contractors that weren't getting paid or whatever, and some sort of and they're local contractors, local whatever.
That's another good point.
And you had made the phone calls and it was taken care of.
But I also called our attorney to find out if that was a recapture basis, and it was.
It was. Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's built into this as well. But.
So recently, have we had problems with the recapturing?
No.
No.
We haven't. Nothing in my time. We've threatened it a couple of times. I'm not going to get into to whom it's not necessary, but someone not complying with during our audit, responding with the confirmation letters that are required as part of that, not helping us with our Paris reporting. I mean, I've thrown the threat, not lightly, but when it escalates to me, I've used those threats if we have to, saying we don't want to go there. And one time this year, we actually had our attorney draft a formal letter, frankly, threatening that. We did send it, and there was going to be a second letter, and we didn't have to go any further. They didn't. So unfortunately, you have to use it once in a while. I hate to. It's the last thing I want to do is recapture, but I will tell you, I'm committed if someone doesn't live up to what they pledged, that you all rely upon in order to give your approval. I absolutely want to follow through.
That'll become very important if we proceed with housing.
Yes. True.
Right. So if there's an affordable housing component, that's critical.
No doubt about it. Absolutely.
Well, because also if they're not sending information back, then obviously it reflects on the IDA for the parish reporting or
Correct.
late, et cetera, or not complete. So.
So that's
Good stuff.
basically exactly what we say. So, all right, any other questions on any other policy?
No, thank you, Bill.
Sure. So, I think we do want to vote on that, to recommend to the board.
We're recommending, I mean, as of right now,
Well,
Yeah, there's nothing that really.
yes, let me just clarify council's, instructions on that. You just ask for a motion, to make a recommendation of the full board that either no changes will be made, or that, we recommend looking at X and Y policies. I'm not sure if you want to include recapture in that, or.
So we would, the couple of changes to the recapture policy only as of right now, is what we're saying, correct?
And I think with any of these, we're talking about looking at them. I don't think we're definitely explicitly saying we're gonna make changes, but, you know, we're recommending to the board that we,
I would say, it was, my opinion, obviously, that we're recommending to continue to monitor the policies as we see moving forward with some of the discussion that was taking place for consideration at the governance committee. And as we go down the road, we'll take into consider these recommendations, anything else that comes out of the full board, and we'll make changes from there, and then we'll move on. So that's my, I guess, recommendation or motion for.
Can we get a so moved from anyone on that?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
And that's it for the meeting. We're gonna hopefully more quickly, we'll go through this again through the OCFC version of governance. So I think we just need to adjourn.
Anybody's there, we're gonna adjourn the IDA, and we're gonna open up the OCFC. So IDA Governance Committee meeting for Tuesday, December 19th will be adjourned at 5:28 p.m.
Okay.
Motions.
Yes, I think I'm
Second, I made a motion, second Giovanni, all in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Very good.
And now we're gonna open up unless anybody has anything, we're all set. So we're gonna open up the Orange County Funding Corporation, the Governance Committee for Tuesday, December 19th at 5:29 p.m. And I'll let Bill make a couple of notes.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
We know all the Pledge of Allegiance we already did, and roll call.
Yes, Dean Tamburi,
Present.
Giovanni Palladino,
Present.
Dr. Vincent Odock.
Present.
3 committee members are all present. Bill Fioravanti, Marty Barras as staff here, acquisitions marketing handling our live stream and audio visual. That's everyone here tonight.
Thank you. And proof of notice, the notice is duly and properly provided in our packet and to the public. And we'll look for approval of the minutes from February 7th, 2023 of the governance committee for the OCFC, which we have in front of us. If anybody needs to take a minute to review it again, that was sent to us. Not a whole lot there.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Giovanni. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And we did this in IDA, but I'd say as expeditiously as you want to go through these again. But
Okay.
we should probably read
Here
them.
we go. Let me hopefully I'll keep it on track, and I don't miss somebody here.
Yeah, let's.
Right.
Yeah,
So for the governance committee, the proposed slate of officers as discussed in the IDA meeting, again, using the people that we have for their strengths for this board moving forward. Our CEO Bill has discussed it with some of them and their schedules. And our proposed slate of officers would be: the chair would be Jeff Christ, vice chair Dean Tamburi, secretary Vincent Odock. And I'll look for a motion to bring that slate to the full board for January approval.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Giovanni. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Again, proposed for the committee assignments. And that was: the governance would be, the chair would be Jeff Christ, committee members Dean Tamburi, Dr. Vincent Odock, and Giovanni Palladino. The finance would be, the committee chair would be Mark Green, committee members Dean Tambori, James Rinaldi, and Jeff Christ. The audit committee, the chair would be Susan Walski, committee members Mark Green, James Rinaldi, and Dean Tambori. And the accelerator would be, the chair would be Dean Tambori, committee members Susan Walski and Giovanni Palladino. And I will look for a motion to move that to the full board for January approval and further discussion. Thank you. I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone. And this is the worksheet, correct, Bill, that we've
Yes, which we went through in the last meeting. Again, this is showing a total of $1.2 billion in projects that this been active to this board since you've been in place. In 2023, a total of 11 applications, 3 were withdrawn. We have closed in 2023. We have closed 4 of those projects to date. For OCFC, we've had really just a couple of them. Mount St. Mary College essentially refinanced bonds through us, $56 million in bonds. We've done that work as well. And then we did have an application that was withdrawn. We have a couple bond deals before us in the pipeline, one for tomorrow night, but they're actually not going through OCFC like most bonds do, so they don't apply. So really for OCFC, the Mount St. Mary deal was the last one we did here specifically. So beyond what we talked about in IDA governance, there's really nothing more to report on it. The project's update.
Thank you. And now we're to the policies. Again, we've just reviewed them, IDA. I'm sure if anybody was on, they've heard the discussion. Unless anybody has anything else to add to it at this point, I would just recommend to continue to maintain the policy that we have, continue to discuss issues moving forward and adjust them as we see fit to fit this county and the IDA for the benefit of everyone.
So moved there would work well too.
So moved.
Thank you. Second, all in favor? Aye. And back to motion to adjourn the Orange County Funding Corp Governance Committee for Tuesday, December 19th at 5:35 p.m. I make the motion. Second.
I'll second.
Second, Giovanni. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so thank you for anyone who's listening. If you're not going to listen to the meeting tomorrow night begins at
Finance begins at 4 p.m.
begins at 4.
and the board meeting starting with OCFC at 5 p.m.
Okay, if anybody isn't going to, if you're finished watching the IDA, I would like to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.